Atma Namaste and welcome to our session on life after death. So today we are going to talk about what happens when the moment of death arrives, what happens to the body, and how the soul continues its life. We are also going to talk about how we can help the deceased ones. So let's start with a short invocation. Please close your eyes. Inhale and exhale slowly and deeply. Relax your body. If you feel any pain or discomfort at any area of your body, bring your awareness to that area and mentally say, I let go. I am not the body. The body is just a vehicle of the soul. I am the soul. I am that I am. Visualize your whole body disintegrate and disappear. All the pain and discomfort disintegrate and disappear. All the cells and organs in your body disintegrate and disappear. What remains is just brilliant white light. Inhale slowly and deeply. Exhale slowly and deeply. Now bring your awareness higher to your thoughts and your emotions. Just observe each and every thought that comes to your mind and fades away. Mentally say, I am not my thoughts. I am not my emotions. Thoughts and emotions are just products of the soul. I am the soul. I am that I am. Visualize all your thoughts and emotions disintegrate and disappear. All your fears, worries, frustrations disintegrate and disappear. What remains is just brilliant white light. Inhale slowly and deeply. Exhale slowly and deep. Now bring your awareness higher to your crown chakra located on top of your head and mentally say to the Supreme Being, to our spiritual teacher, to Grandmaster Shuakok Sui, Lord Mahaguruji Mailing, all the great ones, holy gurus, holy masters, saints, archangels, holy angels, and spiritual helpers. Thank you for all of your priceless blessings, for divine light, divine love, and divine power, divine guidance, help, and protection, inner healing and physical healing, good health and happiness, prosperity and abundance, spirituality and illumination. Thank you in full faith. Inhale slowly, inhale all the blessings. Exhale slowly and be aware of your whole body. Inhale slowly. Exhale slowly. Inhale slowly, inhale all the blessings. And when you are comfortable, gently open your eyes with a big smile. Atma Namaste. Okay, let's begin the session. On life after death. Okay, first of all, we need to understand that death is a natural process. It's needed for evolution. So sometimes there are some myths about death. Some people think after a person dies, they maybe completely disappear. Or some people think they go to another completely new place with new set of skills. But actually, death is a natural process. It's needed for evolution. And it's a continuation of life on earth. Means the person remains exactly what he was before, with the same intellect, with the same qualities and powers. So sometimes some people, when they're suffering in life and they think suicide can help them to come out of the suffering, it's a wrong perception. Because after we die, we are continuing the same life. And apart from that, after we die, the consciousness goes to the astral body, which is also known as emotional body. So means the person will feel emotions even more. So therefore, suicide is not a cure, or it's not a way to escape from the situation. Because life on earth life after death is continuation of life on earth. And there are no reward or punishment from outside. Sometimes some people create a very scary image of death. It's like after death we will be punished and it's like very scary. Actually, no, there is no reward or punishment from outside, but only the result of what we have planted. So if a person has been living life full of character building, helping other people, nice and pure emotions, life after death will be even better because we don't need to work anymore to pay for our rent, for buying things for our house. We can actually spend most of our time on things that we like and we enjoy. So what happens to us after death is basically depends on what seed we have been planting in our earthly life. Another thing we need to understand that we are not separated from the ones who have passed away. They are still in the astral world, and sometimes we experience them during sleep life because when we sleep, we also use the same body called the astral body or the emotional body, and we experience the world. So sometimes we see them during their sleep life. So the separation is just due to the limitation of our consciousness. But there are some people who can actually raise the consciousness and communicate with them, even in a waking and during the waking consciousness. Okay, now let's discuss what happens at the moment of death when the body is leaving, when the soul is leaving the body. Almost all of the great spiritual systems and great religions do believe that there is life after death. And the belief is God made man in his own image. So God being God is immortal. Now God made man in his own image doesn't mean that God has a similar shape like us, like a head, two hands, and a body, because God doesn't have a physical form. But when we say God made man in his own image, means the quality. So God is immortal, which imposes man to be immortal as well. Now the question is, what happens after death? Based on theosophy, as the hour of death approaches, life forces of the body get withdrawn from extremities and gather in the heart center, which can be seen as a glowing focus of light at the center. Now, if you have attended a course on achieving oneness with the higher soul, you will understand that we have 3 permanent seeds. And one of them, which is called physical permanent seed, is located in the heart center, and it has the details of the physical body and our life on the physical on earth physically. So to know more, you can read the book on achieving oneness with the higher soul. So when the body is about to die, all the energies first gather in this heart center. And for a short period, this heart center will look glowing. After that, it gets dimmer. So if a person is clairvoyant and can look at this physical permanent seed and see that this physical permanent seed is becoming dim, then they know that the hour of death is arriving. Now, when this happens, the sensation in the lower limbs diminishes to a high extent because the energy is now focused on the heart. As the moment of death draws nearer, the life forces are withdrawn still further and are focused at this time in the middle of the head where the pineal gland is located. Again, if you have attended the workshop on achieving oneness with the higher soul, you know that we have another seed there, which is known as the seed of consciousness. So when this moment arrives, the dying person may or may not be physically conscious anymore. And if unconscious, such as in the case of a coma patient, he will be seen by clairvoyance out of his physical body. Now this photo that you will see on the right of the screen is where the pineal gland is located. It's actually in the center of the head. That is the center of soul consciousness. during physical life and has a great spiritual significance in many spiritual practices, including Master Choa Sui's or Hatha Yoga. And if you have practiced a meditation on blue pearl, you have experienced that we will focus on this seed of consciousness as it's the gateway or terminal to the inner world. It's actually a gateway to communicate with the higher soul. So the body that person uses is finer than ether. Now the energy body is made up of ether, which is the fourth state of matter, also known as plasma, which is different from blood plasma. So that's why this energy body is known as etheric body or bioplasmic body. Now the next body, which is the astral body or emotional body, is finer than ether, often called the astral body because it is built of self-luminous matter that glows as if lighted from within. Now this body is surrounded by an atmosphere visible as light in constantly changing colors. These colors correspond to states of consciousness and change with every change of feeling and thought. So every emotion we feel, every thought form we generate, especially because thought forms are connected with our emotions, that's why the thought form is called as kama manas. Kama means desire or emotion, manas means mind or thought. So each feeling that we create generates a certain color in this emotional body. And if a person is clairvoyant, they can actually see what color is being generated, and through the colors they can know what kind of thoughts and emotions we are creating. So a rush of sympathy for someone in pain or trouble, for example, suffuses the aura with green. Intellectual effort suffuses it with yellow. And if the emotions are more pure and unselfish, the colors are brighter and more clear, more vivid. If the emotions are more negative or more selfish, the colors will be a bit grayish, mixed with grayish or dimmer. Now, this is taken from the book Thought Forms by Annie Besant and Leadbeater. This shows the intention to know. As you see, the color is yellow. And now if the thought forms are clear, the outlines, if the thought is clear, the outlines of the thought form is clear. But if the thought is vague, then the outline will be vague also, like here. This is vague, pure affection. So you see it's very brilliant pink color because it's pure affection, but is vague because the thought was vague. You know, sometimes you are you exactly know what you want. The thought is very clear, then the outline of the thought form created is clear. But sometimes it's vague, then the outline will be vague also. So in this case, the aura of a dying patient will be floating outside his physical body and is joined to it but by a stream of flowing forces between the head of the physical and astral bodies that shines with a delicate silvery light. Now, if you have again attended the Achieving Oneness with the Higher Soul, or if you read the book, you will see what is this silvery light, and the collection of these cords will create the spiritual cord. Now, as long as this spiritual cord is connected with the physical body, there is still a possibility of awakening. So as long as the flow continues, there is always a possibility of physical awakening. But once it is broken, there will be no longer possibility of return. You know, death is very similar to sleep life. When we are sleeping also, we are using the same astral body. But the spiritual cord is still connected to the physical body, and a portion of the energy is still in the physical body. That's why we can come back. We can be awakened again in physical life. But when the moment of death arrives, this cord will get disconnected. And that is when the consciousness, the soul, cannot come back and use the physical body anymore. Okay? So each body is like called vehicles. It's like in the morning you are using your car, and then at night you are using your boat or your plane, for example. It's like changing vehicles. And you who is the driver is the soul. Now, when the moment of death arrives, it's like you let go of one of the vehicles, which is the physical body, and you continue with the rest of the vehicles, which is the astral body, mental body, and so on. So when the actual moment of death arrives, the silver cord breaks. This will make man rise as though released from a gravitational pull. So man gets freed from his body. Now, as long as this cord is there, we are drawn back to the body. It's like a gravity pulling us back. But when this silver cord breaks, then we are freed from the physical body, including the limitations of the physical body. So no more pain, no more suffering of the physical body. Now, in most cases, the dying person is unconscious of dying process as like a falling asleep. He generally gets involved in a process of reviewing the events of his life, good and bad. So he will see all the activities in a clear perspective, the causes and effects, the successes and the results, their failures and their outworkings. The review is of great importance, for from it a certain wisdom will be distilled. I remember watching a video from Grandmaster when he was explaining about this, that when we are dying, we are still given a chance to do corrections. So means you will see everything that has happened in your life, like a movie, series of movies. You will see with details that what happened, what were the causes, what was the effect, and when you got success, what was the result, and when you had failure, what happened. So you see everything. Now, if you look at this objectively, if you see you have made a mistake, and then you accept it, you realize it, and you say, okay, sorry, I accept that I made mistake, and I will be better next time. You allow this negative thought or tendency to release, to get released from you. It's like you let go, and you will do corrections. You will focus on what needs to be done next time. Okay, so there is still learning. But the problem is with most people, they go on into a denial state. So they will say, no, this was not me. No, this cannot happen. This was another person's fault. Or amnesia. It's like, I cannot remember this. This is not me. So if this happens, we cannot make use of this opportunity to learn and grow. So afterwards, there may be some suffering which comes with it, which we will discuss shortly. So a lot of learning can happen during review, and a lot of suffering can be actually prevented if we act properly, if we realize the mistake, if we apologize, and we focus on what needs to be done. Now, if you are already in Master Choa Kok Sui's school and you have done psychotherapy, you have learned a technique called the whiteboard technique, where you focus on where you have done wrong, and then you erase it and you replace it with what needs to be done, or a positive image instead. If you have done Arhatic Yoga, you know a technique called inner reflection and firm resolution. This is of very, very importance, because it's like a practice. Before even the moment of death arrives and we are forced to review our life, we actually every night lie down, remember what we have done, and then we become our own judge. We look at it carefully with detail, and we see where we did wrong and where we were good. And if we have done wrong, we erase it, we affirm what needs to be done next time, we focus on the positive. So this will allow us to be prepared. So when the moment of death arrives, even if we have missed out something, we can still make use of the opportunity and learn. Now, any disturbances, excess grief, or crying in the chamber of death affects the process of dying and therefore hurts the dying person. As much as possible, the place should be kept physically, emotionally, and mentally quiet to allow the person peacefully follow the process of death and move on to higher subtle bodies. Actually, this is like a crime for the person who is dying. If we really create lots of grief, crying, excessive emotions, because when the body is dying, the person is using astral body. not anymore the physical body. An astral body is the body of emotions. So it means every emotions will be experienced by the person even more intense. So any rush of negative emotions or disturbances to the emotional body, even to the physical body, will affect the person, and they cannot actually focus on the process of dying and to have a peaceful transition from the physical body to the astral body. So when the dying person leaves the physical body, he now lives in the astral body, also known as emotional body, which is highly sensitive to the forces of thoughts and emotions. Therefore, any negative thoughts or emotion from the family members and friends will highly disturb him or her. Now, in your right, you will see a thought form of anger. I included this because I have myself experienced what anger can cause to your even physical body. I'm sure you have also experienced this. Sometimes you're arguing with someone, you may even feel pain in a certain areas of your body, including solar plexus area. Or I remember one time, suddenly I felt sharp pain in my solar plexus, and I was thinking, why? What happened? Then I received a message. And when I was reading the message, from the content of the message, I realized why I was feeling pain, because when the person was thinking about me and I was writing this nasty message, they already send this negative thought form of anger to me. And if your body is sensitive, if you're sensitive, you may even feel it as pain in your body. I remember reading something written by Annie Besant, if I'm not mistaken, that for in future, physical injury can actually be done through thoughts and emotions, because people are becoming more and more sensitive. So when we are sending any negative thought to a person or emotion to a person, they actually feel it as pain. So physical injury will no longer be like really injuring the physical body, but even feeling or thinking negative about a person will affect them. Now, in the case of a person who is dying, this is even worse, because they don't have the physical body, they are using the astral body, and they become even more sensitive to thoughts and emotions. So it's very, very important for the family members and loved ones of a person who is dying to really create a peaceful, nice environment for this transition to happen. And this is a blessing. So that's why the knowledge of this and dying is very, very important, not only for us, so that we can focus on this transition and we can do it properly to benefit later on in the soul's journey, but also for our family members and loved ones, because we can help them with this knowledge. Now, what happens after death? We are now going to talk about desire elementals and rearrangement of astral matter. At the moment of death, the consciousness withdraws from the dense physical body and stays in the etheric body for a short while, which often takes for a few hours. Then it passes into the astral body. In most cases, the actual process of passing away appears to be perfectly painless, even after a long illness involving lots of suffering, because the consciousness is detaching from the physical body, so the person, the soul, will not feel the pain of the body anymore. I have even experienced this myself during meditation. I remember one time I had pain in my body. I had headache, and I sat for meditation. During meditation, when my consciousness rised up, I couldn't feel pain anymore. It was like really peaceful, nice feeling. I couldn't feel my physical body, and it was really comfortable feeling. But the moment meditation finished and my consciousness dropped back to my physical body, I started to feel the pain again. So this is something similar. When the consciousness detached from the physical body, when the soul is no longer using this physical vehicle, all the pain and suffering will no longer be felt, even if the person was suffering from a long illness involving lots of pain. Okay, so the process of dying is not painful, but the painful part of this begins when man starts seeing the whole of his past life. Past life means the life which just finished, in a series with minutest details. In that moment, he sees the whole chain of causes and effects, which leads to understanding his real self. You know, there are so many people wearing masks. Sometimes when we make mistakes, our mind starts justifying so that we can what you call it, we can accept ourselves when we look at mirror. So the mind justifies, we wear a mask. But at the moment of death, we actually see everything without self-flattery, without deception. Now, you may have experienced this. Sometimes someone hurt you and you really suffered for that. Years later, you are seeing them, then you talk to them and say, do you remember you did this, which really caused me suffering? And then you realize it's like they have forgotten it. They have gone into like an amnesia and they cannot remember anything, but you can remember clearly because you were the one suffered. So sometimes when we do terrible mistakes, we forget about them, or we wear a mask, or we justify. But imagine at the moment of death, you see everything as it is, black and white. No self-flattery, no deception. So sometimes it's hard for some people to accept themselves, to forgive themselves. So that's why they go into a denial mode, which is not good at all. Whatever we have done, we actually need to take this opportunity, we accept a mistake so we can learn from it and we move on. Otherwise, certain things happen that we are going to discuss. Otherwise, these negative thoughts and emotions will cling on to the body, will stay, and then cause us suffering after death. Now, once the review ends, there comes a period of unconsciousness, which may last from 36 to 48 hours, varying with the individual. Then the awakening into the new life occurs. Very soon after death, in most cases, an important change happens in the structure of the astral body through the work of desire elementals. Now, a great portion of the astral body is composed of elemental essence. This essence is alive, though not intelligent. It has consciousness, but it's not intelligent. This elemental essence instinctively seeks to descend into matter with the aim of becoming mineral monad. Okay, now to know more about this, you can read the book, The Solar System. Now, currently, this month of June, we are doing a study club studying the book, The Solar System. You can find more details on pranaworld.net about Esoteric Study Club. So every month, we'll be studying one of these esoteric books. So you can see in this photo, I won't go into detail now, but you will see that first we have involution and then we have evolution. So the elemental essence from the first elemental kingdom, second elemental kingdom, third elemental kingdom is descending more and more into matter. And mineral kingdom is the turning point. It's when we are really mixed into matter. And then from the vegetable kingdom, it again ascend up. So we have involution into matter, means going into matter, descending into matter more and more, and then we have evolution, means ascending from matter. So this astral body, a great portion of it is composed of this elemental essence, which seeks to mix with matter more and more, descend into matter more and more, with the aim of becoming mineral monad. Its objective in life is therefore to get nearer to the physical plane, to experience as many coarser vibrations as possible. It doesn't know, and in fact cannot know anything about the human being in whose astral body they are living for the time being. Their desire is just to preserve their separate life and feel that it can only happen by keeping connection to man or to human. It is conscious of the man's lower mind and knows that the more mental matter it can entangle with itself, the longer will be its astral life. So they're trying to descend into matter more and more, and this element, the astral body, is a great portion is composed of this. Now they have consciousness. Now in this photo, you will see that every plane has 7 levels or 7 matters from coarses to most refined. So the coarsest astral matter is the nearest to the physical body, and the most subtle astral matter is the nearest to the mental body. So means the more lower vibrations we have in our system, like the more negative emotions we experience, then the astral matter is nearest to the physical. It's in the lowest levels. And the more unselfish, the more refined emotions we are experiencing, we are nearer to the mental plane. Now, this astral plane in some cultures is called as hell, especially the lowest parts, which are composed of very coarse astral matter and are connected with terrible emotions, lower emotions. And the mental world is known as heaven because there is no longer any negative emotions experienced in that. Okay, so now we will discuss about what happens to the astral body when this rearrangement happens and what will be the concept of hell in this case. And this is another photo just for your knowledge. And each level of this astral matter is given a different name. Okay, now when the man dies, knowing that his astral body will also die more or less quickly afterwards, the elemental essence rearranges its matter in concentric rings or shells with the coarsest outside in order to make the man's astral body last longer. Okay, now imagine with a group of people, group of friends, you are caught in somewhere outside the city where you don't know much, and then you're afraid that there may be danger, like there may be dangerous animals or some danger may happen to you and your friends, Then what you do is the friends who are stronger will stand outside. You create like a ring with the strongest of the group standing outside and the weakest standing inside, like the elderly and the children standing inside and the strongest standing outside to protect the whole group. This is something like that. So when this elemental essence rearrange themselves, the coarses will be outside and the most refined will be inside to make sure they stay longer because they have consciousness. They know that soon after the physical body dies, the astral body is going to die also. So they want to extend this life. Now, the rearranged astral body is called the yatana or suffering body. In the case of a very evil man in whose astral body there is a preponderance of the coarsest matter, it is called the dhruvam or strong body. Okay, now this is where hell comes into place. Now imagine your astral matter has rearranged itself into concentric rings or shells, with the last one being the coarsest. Now imagine a man has a lot of negative thoughts, negative emotions. Okay, now this the last circle will be composed of all those lower emotions. Now the problem is, if this rearrangement has happened, the soul, the person, can only experience the outermost. Means they can only receive and respond to vibrations which have similar quality to the outermost shell. So what does it mean? In your life, you have experienced that you, including your family members, we all feel different range of emotions. We love, we feel happiness, but at the same time, sometimes we get angry, sometimes we get upset, sometimes we get sad. Okay, now imagine a person can only experience the lowest, means even the loved ones, everybody appear as monsters to them because they can only respond to that lowest vibrations in everybody else. So this is basically hell because you see everyone as monsters, and this is very scary. The effect of such rearrangement is to prevent the free and full circulation of the astral matter, which normally occurs in the astral body. This causes man to be able to only respond to vibrations which are received by the outermost layer of his astral body. The man therefore gets present in a box of astral matter, being able to hear and see things of the lowest and coarsest plane. This makes him to perceive other people around him as monsters of vice, as he can only perceive their lowest and most negative characteristics. So that makes life very scary because everybody appears as monsters, even your loved ones who love you, because everybody, general public, has all those lower vibrations in their body as well. Now, this happens until the person learns the lessons, until they let go of their negative emotions, so that the outermost layer will disintegrate. And then the consciousness goes to the next subplane. And until this disintegrates, and the whole of these subplanes or all of these rings disintegrates, and then the consciousness will go to the mental world, which is the heaven life. Now, this happens for ordinary people. And how long they stay in astral world and then how long they stay in the mental world depend on the seeds we have planted in our earthy life. So the more higher vibrations we have, we spend less time. The faster we learn our lessons, we spend less time in the astral world. Then we move on to the mental world, which is known as heaven. Okay, now for some of the very advanced spiritual practitioners or spiritual teachers, they can bypass all of this. So the moment they die, the consciousness connects with the higher soul because of their progress and evolution. Okay, so that's why when a spiritual person passes away, we don't call it death. We call it samadhi, means oneness, means the moment they die, the consciousness unites with the higher soul. But with the rest of the people, it first goes to the astral world, and then it goes to the mental world, and then only it unites with the higher soul. Okay? And how long it stays in each world depends on our life. Now, this continues to happen until the outermost shell disintegrates, which enables man to respond to the vibrations of the next higher level of the astral plane, and then rises to the next subplane, one after another. His stay in each plane is connected to the amount and activity of the matter in his astral body, belonging to that subplane. Okay, so everything depends on us. That's why in the beginning we said there is no reward or punishment from outside. Everything depends on our own thoughts and emotions, whatever seeds we have planted. And we still have a chance to do corrections when we are reviewing our life. So we need to take that opportunity. Okay, now achieving oneness with the higher soul, the meditation on Blue Pearl is actually a practice of uniting with the higher self, even before we die. Okay, so we can actually unite before even the body dies. Now, let's say this doesn't happen. Practicing that meditation regularly is like a practice. It's like training, so that when the body is dying, we can bypass all of these worlds, astral world, mental world, and unite with the higher soul directly. Okay, everything depends on how prepared we are. Now, this process of rearrangement, which happens to most people, can be prevented by strong will. In fact, for people who know and understand the conditions of the astral plane, should not allow such to happen by the desired elementals. If this successfully happens, the particles of the astral body remains intermingled as in life. And as a result, instead of getting limited to perceiving only one subplane, man will be free of all the subplanes based on the constitution of his astral body. Okay, so this means if a person knows about what happens at the moment of death, and they know about this process of rearrangement of desire elementals, with the use of will, they can actually stop this process. Now, when someone is doing this, the elemental, being afraid of such incident in its semi-conscious way, will try to transfer its fear to man, who is refusing to undergo rearrangements. Therefore, if it is necessary for all to have thorough knowledge of astral body and in elementals in order to avoid or neglect such fear imposed by elementals. Okay, so when a man using the will, is trying to stop this process from happening. By man, we mean human, okay? The desire elemental is afraid of such incidents, so infusing fear in the person. But then a person who has knowledge will know that this is just fear imposed by elementals and will not pay attention to it. Now, in the case rearrangement has already happened, it is still possible to break it up by someone who wished to help the man. So there are so many invisible helpers in the inner world that sometimes help people, help to stop this rearrangement from happening, break them, okay? And we can also help the people who have passed away, even in our even in our earthly life. Now, how to help a deceased person? First of all, for the spirit, the space looks almost the same, just as we have different grades of physical matter. We also have different grades of astral matter, and each degree is attracted to that which is similar to it in physical plane. Now, what does it mean is, the person who dies initially may not realize they are dead. So sometimes you have seen this in movies. They are dead, but they are confused. What has happened? Who am I? I'm lying down there, but I'm here. What is happening? So initially they may not know that they are dead because they still see places as they are. They still see furniture because of the astral matter, which is connected with the physical matter. Okay, then they only realize they are dead when they don't feel any more pain in the body. Okay, because they don't have physical body anymore. They don't need to feed the physical body anymore. First thing, and many people are actually afraid. They are afraid of process of dying. So when they are dying, they have a lot of fear. So the first thing we can help is knowledge and information about the afterlife, to make them understand that afterlife is just continuation of the physical life. I was reading a book by Leadbeater. Then he was mentioning that initially he was thinking, what is the purpose of sleep? Like 1/3 of our life we are sleeping and there is no use. And until he realized that during the sleep life, he can actually help the people who have passed away, and they need knowledge, they need information, they need to feel calm. Okay, so that's why every time before sleep, he says you can make a prayer, you can make intention to help the souls who have passed away and they are actually having a hard time in the astral world. Now, for that, number one, you should be selfless, no selfish thoughts. And number two, no fear, okay? So that you can help them with more clarity. He says sometimes you remember, after you wake up, you remember what happened, but sometimes you don't remember at all. But even if you don't remember, you can still help, the help still, the act of helping still happens. Second one is prayer and blessing. Okay, like this is in many cultures. Once the person pass away, then there are so many chantings, prayers, blessings, which is recommended for the person. Like in Christian tradition, they use Lord's Prayer. In Muslim tradition, they use Quran. In Indian tradition, they use some hymns or mantras. This is very, very good. Okay, based on my own experience, initially when I learned pranic healing and I started to get familiar with these concepts, I came to know that Om Namah Shivaya Om can be used to disintegrate some old forms. Okay, so I came to know that when you go to a hotel room or a place which is energetically dirty, you can use Om Namah Shivaya Om to purify the place. Or you can use this to disintegrate some of the negative thought forms, for example. So one night I remember I was sleeping, then in my sleep I was in some place and there was a tree and there were so many souls, it's like earthbound souls sitting on the tree. It's like they were caged or caught in the astral world and their consciousness could not rise higher. So I got afraid in the dream. Then I wanted to chant Om Namah Shivaya Om because I was afraid of, ghosts and all. Then in the dream, I got guided to chant Om Mani Padme Hum. So I started chanting Om Mani Padme Hum continuously, and as I was chanting Om Mani Padme Hum, I could see each of these souls one by one, consciousness rise up, and then they disappear. When I woke up, then I realized maybe Om Mani Padme Hum is good because it is for compassion and mercy. So many of these souls being caught into the astral world and cannot go to higher worlds like mental worlds and above because of lower emotions. So this Om Mani Padme Hum can help to break that up, to transmute the lower emotions into higher emotions, which can help them. So this may be one of the mantras we can use also. Now help them to detach and finish unfinished business. So you may have heard the stories of so many people who get contacted by some souls from the other world, and then they ask them to help with finishing certain business because, for example, they need to say something to someone, they need to do certain things for their family, they need to finish some unfinished business, and they cannot let go and cannot go to higher worlds unless they finish this business. And there are some people, some spiritual practitioners whose responsibility is to do this for them. So when they get contacted, they actually help to finish some of the unfinished business and allow them to peacefully transit to higher worlds. So thank you so much. We reached to the end of the session and hope you enjoyed. There are so many books about this in Theosophy, and I also really recommend you to read the book Achieving Oneness with the Higher Soul, so you know more about the concept of the soul and what happens afterwards. And hope to see you in our future sessions. Thank you so much. Atma Namaste. Let's finish with a short invocation. Be aware of your heart and your crown. Mentally say to the Supreme Being, Divine Father, Divine Mother, and all the great, great ones, thank you for all of your priceless blessings, for divine light, divine love, and divine power, divine guidance, help, and protection. Thank you in full faith. Inhale slowly, inhale all the blessings. Exhale slowly. Be aware of your whole body. And when you're comfortable, gently open your eyes with a big, big smile. Atma Namaste.